Dust hangs heavy in the afternoon air as a 3-ton elephant stands motionless in the sanctuary. It is a creature of immense physical presence, capable of generating enough force to uproot a tree with its trunk. Looking at its leg, however, reveals a strange detail. This giant is tethered to a small wooden peg by a piece of frayed rope no thicker than a garden hose. There are no iron chains or heavy cages. With a single step, the animal could snap the twine and walk away. Instead, it remains entirely docile. This creates a confusing scene for any observer. Why does a creature with this much raw power make zero effort to test such a fragile restraint? The answer reveals a specific psychological mechanism where immense strength can be completely neutralized by a simple, persistent belief. The trainer explains that the rope itself isn't the primary restraint. The animal is held by a memory. When elephants are born, trainers use this same size of rope to tie them. A tiny calf, weighing only a few hundred pounds, spends its days tugging frantically against the tethering line. At that specific stage of life, the calf lacks the mass to break the fibers. The rope is a physical reality that the animal cannot overcome, no matter how hard it fights. After days of constant failure, the calf reaches a psychological breaking point. It concludes that struggle is futile and ceases all effort. Over the next decade, the elephant reaches its full adult weight of several tons. It possesses thousands of pounds of muscle, yet it carries the conditioning of its infancy into adulthood. The animal operates on a core conviction that the rope can still hold it. Because it is convinced of its own weakness, it ignores its current physical capacity and never attempts to pull away. The adult elephant remains stationary because it trusts the limits of its youth more than the power of its maturity. Human beings operate on the same psychological hardware. We often carry internal restraints that were formed during our own most vulnerable stages. A single failure from years ago can dictate the perceived limits of our future potential long after our circumstances have changed. We tell ourselves stories about what we are capable of, treating these outdated narratives as if they were permanent wooden pegs driven into the ground. We also internalize the limiting beliefs that others projected onto us when we were younger, accepting their assessments as our own internal boundaries. We accumulate skills, experience, and resilience over time, yet we often refuse to test our old boundaries because a weaker version of ourselves once failed to cross them. This diagram tracks the disconnect. While our actual strength grows steadily over the years, our perceived strength often flatlines after an early struggle. The shaded area between these lines represents a zone of wasted potential. We are capable of moving forward, but remain psychologically paralyzed. We often live within the constraints of a past self, treating an old memory as if it were a solid physical wall. Internal boundaries frequently persist long after the physical circumstances that created them have vanished. Many of the limits we feel today are the weight of those unexamined memories. Identifying your own wooden pegs requires an honest audit of your current life. It means asking which restraints are based on your present reality and which are inherited from your past. A psychological chain only holds power as long as we decline to test it. Its strength is derived from our ongoing belief rather than its own material reality. By recognizing the resources gathered since your last failure, you can finally lean forward, snapping the rope that only existed in your mind. Freedom begins by setting aside the memory of past weakness and acting on the evidence